Hello and welcome to episode 22 of In PS We Trust. My name's Davey and joined with me as always is Phil.
Moving mad.
And Spencer.
War has changed.
ID control. Gun control. So we're a fortnightly PlayStation podcast and we each bring one topic of discussion to the table to go in depth on. But first, before we get into that, boys, what are you drinking?
Right, well, I have the classic, I have the Budweisers. However, I can't go overboard like usual because I have my second jab in the morning at 9 a.m.
Oh, welcome to the club, mate. Welcome to the club.
No, I'm just hoping I get like invisibility or super speed or something and then sound.
Well, the only power I had was a one-day hangover. So I don't know if that's really something you want. I mean, I just had like the exact feelings of a hangover for just one day, and I hadn't drunk the day before. Just an absolute write-off the day. I think you had something similar, didn't you, Phil, with yours?
Yeah, it was exactly the same. I think, after my second jab, it just felt like a mini hangover, and that's all it was. But a day later, it was just gone.
It feels worse when you haven't earned it. I think with a hangover, yeah, all right, well, I had a good time the night before. I've kind of walked into this, but never mind. But still, that's exciting for you, Spence. At least you'll be able to go out and get amongst it.
I mean, yeah, I kind of have been already, so doesn't matter too much. I've been having some mad nights.
But now you'll have your COVID certificate, the all-important COVID certificate.
Aye, you ain't wrong. Yeah, I'm excited for it. Gonna get stabbed again. Last time, the first jab, I didn't feel that bad, but my arm was actually in agony. My arm was killing me. I just couldn't raise it above my shoulder level. Which is fine, because my keyboard and mouse are below shoulder level.
Which one are you having? Are you Pfizer or AstraZeneca?
Pfizer, mate.
Same as me, then.
We're all Pfizer podcast on this podcast. Goes to show our age. As soon as you get to a certain point, they get the AstraZeneca in you. Don't care about the blood clots then. It's like, whereas at our level, that's quite an important thing, So it's like, we don't really want to kill them off. And they know how valuable we are. I mean, as I said before, we're blowing up. So don't kill us now. We're starting the peak. And, as I said before, I'm not even in my prime. And Phil's definitely nowhere near the prime at the tender age of 52.
I'm like a fine wine. We've already covered this. Better with age.
Keep you in the fridge, isn't it? Isn't that right, Spence?
Yes, mate.
Kind of like yourself, Spence. I'm the same. I'm not drinking too much tonight. I'm on the Estrellas, the leftovers from last podcast. And I've kind of just saved them. I thought there's been some really nice days and I could have just drunk them. But I thought, no, I'll save them for this podcast, make it special, bring in the early 20s, as I said last time. But I got work tomorrow, so I can't go too hard. So I'm going to have like 2 or 3 of them, and then I've got a couple of beers that the wife was going to chuck out. It's the rest of those nonsense beers that we had ages ago. So I got a Session IPA, and I'm pretty sure last time I did this on the podcast, I took 1 sip of it, and it went down the sink. But now I'm getting drastic. I'm getting to the point where I'm going to have to throw it away. So I might as well try and enjoy it. That's what I'm on today. What about yourself, Phil? What nonsense have you conjured out of the ether?
Well, actually, I'm sticking to just a nice cold, crisp lager for tonight's recording. It's kind of gone full circle on the whole Brewdog situation because I've gone from lager to Brewdog back to lager now. Brewdog just ain't doing it for me at the moment. It's just too much.
Do you feel like this podcast has influenced you in any way? That you've seen the light a little bit?
No, I still hate PS Plus.
Such a lie. Especially with the bangers that we're going to talk about later on. Oh my God, how could you be disappointed?
Yeah, so tonight for my lager choice is the Bud Light. That's my preferred lager these days. Don't know if that's age or it's just you can drink a shit ton of them and not really get that drunk. So perfect for podcasting.
Well, I can't respect you with a Bud Light, but it's still better than a Brewdog, so I've got to give you something there. So I suppose on that bombshell, with Spence on the actual Budweisers, me on the Estrella, Phil on the Bud Light, it's like the Avengers. It's like literally the gang's back together. That's like our standard podcast drinks. It's good to see you boys today. Really good. I'm really looking forward to this episode. But let's move on to what are we playing?
This time on NPS We Trust, what have the boys been playing?
Spencer, do you want to start us off today?
Sure. So I've not had a very busy time of gaming. But I was over with my girlfriend's again the other day, and she was working. She works from home. I had nothing to do, and I thought, you know what? Fuck it. Back on the Last of Us grind for the fucking Firefly and Hunter Journey trophy. And if you remember rightly, last time I mentioned it on the podcast, I was on week 8. And now I've just gone past week 10. I think I'm on week 10, day 2.
If you had to sum this up as a percentage of the trophy you've achieved so far, where are you hitting? Are you at the 50% mark at the moment with this trophy, or is there still a long way to go?
I'm at like 85% with this trophy.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, because I'm on week 10 and it's only 12 weeks. However, as soon as I get this trophy, I have to do the exact same thing again, just on the other team.
So you're more like 45% there.
Yeah, I suppose so, yeah. I'm 45 towards the platinum, I'll say.
It's 45% more than me and Davey, to be fair, so you're doing quite well.
Yeah, it's good to see you're still going at it, Spence. I honestly thought, after last episode, I thought, this ain't going to last. You know, this is going to peter out. He's not going to get anywhere near this. So I think as soon as you get to the halfway mark and you get that trophy for doing the one journey, I think that would spur you on even more. To think it's like, it's within arm's reach then, you know? One more thing to go. Whereas at the moment you think, I got to do the rest of this, then I got to do it all over again. That's going to be crushing.
It would really hurt for you to get 50% of the way there, get that first side out of the way, and then think, you know what, fuck it. I'm not bothered with this. Because you put so much time and effort into it. How much time have you put into it so far, would you say, in hours?
Well, I know my total game time on The Last of Us, but I've beat the game 4 times, the story, because I fucking adore it. And my total game time is about 48 hours. So my first playthrough of the game took me 12 hours, and then my second, third, and fourth were all about 4 hours each, all on Survivor Plus. So since then, it's been non-stop multiplayer. So probably about 20 hours-ish, which isn't great. It's not great, but you are completely right. I think Dave's completely right, where as soon as I get that trophy, it's in arm's reach. I think what I might do, I know the strategy now, make a day where I can do nothing but do it, stream it, and just get that trophy.
What's the rarity on it? Have you looked?
I think it's like 0.4 for the platinum.
Oh, really rare then.
Yeah, as it should be. It's a fucking boller cake. It's a nightmare. It's insane. Those multiplayer trophies have a higher percentage than some of the single player trophies, because that's how many people like the factions multiplayer.
I mean, I know this is what always blows my mind, right? Is that so many people are like, oh, when are they going to announce Last of Us 2 factions? When are we going to get this multiplayer add-on? I literally do not give a flying fuck. And I honestly, I just judge all of you who want it. I really do. Like, I don't know why people are so excited about it. I think that game mode is trash. Like, I'm not playing that, especially for like 20 odd hours. I mean, maybe it's the fact that it's gatekeep me from getting a platinum on it. And I know I have to do it, and that's why I hate it so much, rather than it's something to do for fun. And maybe if I didn't have that weight going into it, maybe I'd feel differently. But as it stands, no. Put it to bed, put it in the bin, and I blame all of you. I just blame all of you.
I think the gatekeeping is probably accurate, because the more I've been playing it, and the more I've been understanding the multiplayer, I think it's like one of the most tactical multiplayer games ever. It's actually really, it's good. I'm not going to say it's fun. I don't think it's fun, but it's good, and I understand their intentions with it and how it works, and it's interesting.
You know when people get kidnapped and they fall in love with the person who nicks them?
That's called
Sure.
That's called Stockholm Syndrome.
It is.
That's what you're suffering with right now, Spencer. That's what it is. 20 hours of that, and now you're like, do you know what? It's actually really good. But then you'll play another experience, and you'll be like, oh, this is what freedom's like.
It's really good, but it's not fun. That's all I'm saying. It's like, I appreciate it for what it is, but I couldn't play it as much as all these. Right, I've got 20 hours in this game. I'm level 5. Level 5. There are people playing this game that are level 999. Are they, like, did their mum never buy them the PS4? Are they still playing Last of Us on PS3? I don't understand.
What? So they've clearly got the platinum and they're still playing it because they love it that much.
Either they got the platinum or they just didn't do the campaign. They played factions and thought this is the best multiplayer ever made, which is insane. Or, you know, when you're a kid, you have your game and it's your one game you dedicate your life to until you get another game. Maybe they just never got another game.
The internet is full with wild and wonderful people, Spence, and I'm sure there might be The Last of Us multiplayer players out there listening to the podcast right now. So thank you very much, guys. Thanks for your support. What else have you been playing, Spence?
The other game I've been playing, again, I was at my girlfriend's house. She was working. I didn't have anything to do. And I think I've mentioned it before on the podcast, but my Demon Souls has been missing for about 6 months. My girlfriend came to my house. She said, you took it home. I know you did because you wanted to play it. I was like, yeah, I did want to play it, but I didn't take it home. She said, you did. I said, I've checked my room. She said, no, you haven't. Not well enough. She came to my house and checked my room for it. Couldn't find it. Then the other day, I was hanging out with my mate and she goes, Spence, I'm going to call you a minute. Don't be pissed off. She's there holding my Demon Souls. It fell off her TV stand and was wedged between a TV stand and the wall because her cat knocked it off. She says, she claims, fucking bitch. She never even got past Boletaria. Fucking
Scrubbo.
Fuming. But yeah, so I played that.
That's classic though, isn't it? My wife's always saying to me, where's this? And saying, Matt, you've lost this. You've put this somewhere. And I'm like, I haven't even seen that in years. And then it's in her bag, you know? Women are like, they're weird. They can like just conjure stuff out of the ether. They really can. Like when we're looking for something, it's in Lottie's bag and we've gone through a bag, you know, it's like Mary Poppins' bag in there. You're pulling everything out of there, you know? And then lo and behold, on the 10th time of searching for it, like magic, it's in there. It's just weird. But women are just weird creatures.
What you've got to be careful of is that point where you ask them where something is and they know they've thrown it out. Just like your Yums hat, Davey. Where did that go?
Yeah, that went in the trash, but that was done in front of me.
Oh,
that was done like you're not wearing this. And to be fair, she looked after me with that one because that hat was something else. So you know, and I got to replace it with a Final Fight hat. So you know, Fatal Fury. Yeah, and I look like a stud in that. So you know, it's all good. But Spence, you and me have been playing a game together, haven't we? We've been playing a bit of Dark Souls Remastered. So before, you'd been playing this on PC, and you only got like to the halfway mark, I think, and then you kind of stopped. So tell the audience how we kind of got back onto this grind of playing it, and how are you feeling about the game now you've put a lot more time into it?
Sure. So yeah, like you said, I was playing it on PC. That was prior to PS5. That was prior to Demon Souls release, and I was playing it in anticipation of Demon Souls, and I just didn't get it done in time. I got to the Four Kings, which is about the halfway mark, and I fucked it. Couldn't beat him. And then I thought, fuck this. I literally have Demon Souls. What the fuck am I doing? Play Demon Souls instead. But I was over at my friend's house, and the summer sale started, and Dark Souls Remastered was like £6. Bargain. Absolute fucking bargain. Or it might have been £12, but it was cheap. It was very, very cheap. No, £6. £6. £8.
It was around there. It was under a tenner.
It was £8 because I bought, I can say it now, can't I? Yeah, and what we playing. Because I bought Resident Evil 1 as well. And that was £4 and the total was £12. What a sale. What a sale. Dark Souls Remastered and Resident Evil 1 for £12.
Oh my god, Resident Evil 1 for £4 is an absolute steal. I suppose it goes without saying that sale, by the time of you hearing this, listener, will still be ongoing. So there's loads of stuff in there. It's worth checking out. I picked up Far Cry 5 in there for £3. So there's some really, really good bargains in there. Have a look through. There's like 1 million items on there. A lot of trash, but a lot of gems as well, especially a lot of Resident Evil stuff. So you've heard it first. Go and check it out. But yeah, so what are your thoughts on it now you put that bit of extra time into it?
Right, so now, obviously my build's completely different from PC because I was struggling. I'm playing it with you, so a lot more fun. And now I'm full strength build. I got my giant club plus 13. Fuck me, this game's fun. This game's really fun. The design of the world, the characters, the bosses, the NPCs. It's just cool, man. I love Souls so much. And finally getting to like play Souls Remastered and enjoy it as much as I am. It's sick. It's actually sick.
How do you feel playing this one now? And this is obviously your last Souls game, because you've played all the other ones. You've played 2, 3, Bloodborne, all those, and Demon Souls, of course. How are you finding this, going back to like an older style, kind of more similar to Demon Souls, I suppose, in how they kind of designed the world? Because obviously this was the successor to Demon Souls. So can you see kind of what they've taken from that first game and then kind of improved and expanded upon? And then where that's led across the rest of the series, how are you kind of finding that kind of time capsule in a way of going back and seeing it now?
I'm enjoying it. It's I can definitely see the correlations between Demon Souls and Dark Souls Remastered. Demon Souls, people don't know, it's gimmicks. The entire game's gimmicks. Other than the worlds, the bosses are gimmicks. They're more puzzles than they are bosses. Dark Souls 1, they clearly tried to move away from that, where all the bosses are a lot less gimmicky. There's so many gimmicks in the game still. There are loads of gimmicks, but you can see the effort they've put in to try and move away. If anything, now the world is full of gimmicks, and the bosses don't have them. They've switched it around.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true, because we just did Seath last night, which, listeners, is basically is this invisible pathways that you need to walk across. And they're scrub killers. If you don't know the path, you're just done. And so going back there, that entire like section is just gimmick, proper gimmick. But I think you're right in saying that. I think the bosses are just really fairly designed. You know, like our fight with CT yesterday was really good. We fought Priscilla in the Painted World, and that was a great little boss fight. I think the game's just got so many good, memorable bosses, and the locations like Analondo and everything else are just so good that that to me the game holds up. I rank it as second. In terms of the overall, all the Dark Souls games, I adore that game. And you've got some of the best content coming up when we get to the DLC section, which we'll probably talk about on the next episode. But how are you, if you had to give it a ranking, as is typical for this podcast, where would you put it at so far?
Well, I was thinking then, because you just said you'd give it second, I was thinking where I'd place it. I think so far, my order is, it's really hard to say. 3 Bloodborne, 1 Demon Souls, 2. So that's my rating of the Souls games. And then I'd give it like a freaking 8, but like a sick 8. I love the Souls games so much. It's like a high 8. I think they're such great games. But I think like they're all, the ones that are better are like marginally better, and the ones that are worse are like marginally worse. I don't think any of the Souls games are really like lower than a 7. And any of them are better than a 9. I think they're all dancing around the 8. So the difference in the games is so marginal, other than 2. 2 sucks cock. So boring. It doesn't suck cock, it's a great game, but it's boring.
Have you got any interest in checking these out, Phil?
With all you guys' explanations on how good the Souls games are, it is a series that, you know, has sort of piqued my interest, and I think I would like to dip in. As a complete newbie to the Souls universe, where should I dip in, guys?
Well, I started with Bloodborne.
As did I.
I think Bloodborne's a great place to start. I think it's easier to understand because there's less builds. I think it's a lot more streamlined. It's got the best bosses in the entire series, in my opinion, and it's faster. And I think from that, it's a great introduction. It's just a great introduction to the series, and it will kick your ass. The first one you play is going to absolutely massacre you until you learn kind of the language of Souls.
I don't really think, you know, I'm the only one out there, you know, with our listeners that have never touched a Souls game. You know, it's got quite an intimidating kind of name to it, hasn't it? The Demon Souls series, purely because everyone goes, oh, that's a really hard game to play. You know, so it does put a lot of people off. But after your glowing reviews the last couple of weeks of these games, I do need to dip in. So you're saying Bloodborne is the one I should start with?
Definitely. Yeah, I'd say so for sure.
Yeah, I would say Bloodborne start, and then Demons, and then in order as well. Because I think if you play the other games and then Demon Souls last, like we did, you kind of trounce all over Demon Souls. It wasn't. They say it's the hardest one. It's not. It's not the hardest one by a long shot.
It's weird as well, because the difficulty thing with Souls, I never quite understood. I think the first one that you play is crushingly hard. You'll find it hard. I remember being stuck on the first area of Bloodborne for like 10 hours. I just couldn't get the hang of it, because you're so used to being, you know, an absolute monster in games and just trashing enemies like they're nothing, and then a boss maybe might challenge you. Well, it's kind of a different language to Souls, and until you learn that, and you learn that each enemy's kind of a threat, it's difficult. It just plays different. And I think until you've played your first one, you can't quite get your head around it. It's very strange. I'm really struggling to kind of articulate it.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's hard as in mechanically hard or dodging's hard or any of that. I think it's just a learning experience. As soon as you learn enough about the game, it's not that hard. We're playing Souls 1 Remastered right now. We literally two-shot a boss.
We've not died really, have we?
No, we're flying for it.
Yeah, but you guys are seasoned pros with the Souls universe. You've played them all, so it's to be expected that you would sort of jump into any of the games and just be okay at them. I'm coming from a place of complete ignorance when it comes to the Souls games.
You've got that Remnant XP, mate. Remnant from the Ashes. That's a Souls game, kind of. A little bit of crossover.
Well,
kinda, yeah. The bosses are for sure. Bosses are real similar to a Souls. So yeah, I think that would kind of help. But no, I think you'll be fine. Honestly, I think your first one you dive into, Bloodborne's a great place to start. Just put the time in, and it's the adage we use on the podcast all the time. And the Souls community is kind of taking it for themselves, and they're the ones that have kind of popularized it. But you just got to get good. You really do, and as soon as you do, it's a cakewalk. And it just clicks. There's just a moment. There's just a moment in playing it that it would just come together. And when that happens, you just fly through it. I remember after I died, for those 10 hours, after that, I don't think I died for ages after that. Because you just understand. You just understand the kind of pacing and the stamina management and the kind of everything that goes with it. And the more you die earlier on, the kind of more powerful you become, so you level up quicker. There are systems there to kind of help you starting off. But yeah, you could do it, mate. Do you know what? I'd love to see you do it.
That's what I was about to say. I'd love for you to stream it or just share screen it for us. I would love to watch you play any of those games.
Well, once we get a bit of a gap, I'm sure I will either purchase the game if I haven't got it already through some online something or other. I might have it on Steam. Is it on Steam, Bloodborne?
Bloodborne's a PlayStation exclusive. You're not going to get that anywhere else. But the rest of the Dark Souls trilogy you can get on PC. Demon Souls and Bloodborne are exclusive to PlayStation.
Sure. Well, once I get a gap, I'm sure I'll gravitate towards a Souls game. And as you guys said, I'll start with Bloodborne. But as you know, I'm not the fastest in completing games. I am still working on Ratchet and Clank.
Jesus.
So over the last couple of weeks, I've just got to the point where I've completed the Fixer level, which Davey spoke about last week, I believe, and the Dr. Nefarious boss fight. That chase scene within the Fixer level, it has to be the standout in the game so far for me. I don't want to say too much, but this section of the game has you traveling around on rails, jumping from side to side on the wall rides, using the hookshot to hurl yourself long distances, all while avoiding laser attacks from that humongous enemy. It really had my heart, beating fast.
Did it feel to you like an Uncharted level? Because it did to me. You know how the set pieces are in Uncharted, where it's all building and building and building and building and building, and introducing new things, and just it's just continually rising. That's what that felt like to me, and it's the first time that I felt like everything kind of fit together, and I saw kind of what the game could do, and it just all clicked, and I thought, yeah, I'm in for the ride. Was that kind of your experience too then?
I think playing it through, if I hadn't have fallen off the rails a couple of times, then it would have been more like, I suppose, a Sonic game, right? Because everything is just washing past you as fast as you can sort of take it in. But, I'm 36. It takes a long time for me to sort of process things at that speed. So yeah, I did, admittedly fall off a couple of times, but once I got through it, yeah, I do know what you mean with the pace. It was the pacing of that level, definitely, where it's all built towards that crescendo at the end, which I don't want to give away.
I'm trying to think how far you are through this now. I think the fix is probably about, what would you say, Spence, about a third of the way through the game?
A third, you reckon?
Yeah, I'd say about that, wouldn't you?
I think it's more than a third.
I think when you start the game off, you get a percentage score of what you've completed. I'm at about 60%. So I would say, you're 2/3 through at the moment when it comes to the Fixer. And I just said I've done the Dr. Nefarious fight, which comes directly after that.
Yeah, I was literally going to say probably just past halfway.
So do you reckon you'll have it finished by next episode?
I never make promises like that on this podcast, mate. Don't try and stitch me up.
Wouldn't mind a challenge. It's been a long time since we've had a challenge on this podcast. I was thinking maybe we could get something going there.
Mate, you know my diary.
Oh, it's been ages. I forgot we did challenges.
Been a long time.
When was the last challenge we did?
When Davey played League.
I know, yeah, we challenged Davey to play League, but outside of that, we haven't had a challenge. So we are due one.
I reckon we give you a challenge, Phil. I reckon you've got to get it completed by next podcast.
Is that really that fair, though, just to give me specifically a challenge to complete a game?
You can give me a challenge if you want.
That just means I have to I'm not doing the edit this time, am I? So let's give Spencer a challenge. Do the edit and complete a game.
I'd do that.
All right. Let's put a challenge on the line, okay? By next podcast, I will have platinumed.
Go on. Which one? Which one? There's 2 games. Which one?
By next episode, I will have platinumed Dark Souls Remastered. Spencer, by next episode, you need to have platinumed The Last of Us.
That's so much worse. That's so much worse.
It's very similar time. 20 hours.
And I just have to complete Ratchet and Clank. Is that fair?
Yes.
Because I'm not a platinum hunter.
Fam.
But I have just looked at my calendar and I have got a wedding next week. So that's going to take out a big chunk of that time. But I think it is achievable. I do love Ratchet and Clank and I am loving this experience with this iteration of the game. So yeah, I think if I got a couple of spare evenings or maybe just the one, I could probably knock through it and get that game completed.
If you get your
Let
challenge
me,
done...
please. Oi. Let me argue these challenges now, please.
Go on.
He's got like 3 hours left, Ratchet. He's got like 3 hours left. My girlfriend's booked a week off work next week. I'm with her all week. I'll platinum Plague Tale.
No.
How's that?
I'm
Why?
not sure that's a compromise.
No, I don't think it's...
You got 3 hours! You can't talk. Oh, this is insane.
Yeah, do it.
You're still a student. I work a full-time job. I'm a very busy boy. Actually, I work 2 full-time jobs, don't I? Because I have my business on the side and I also work for the company in Cardiff. So yeah, I'm super busy.
I think that's more than fair. And I think, it's not called an easy target. It's called a challenge. You got to have something that's going to challenge you. And 20 hours, I've got 2 videos to put out the next week on YouTube. I got a son. I got a wife. I got a job. I reckon this is more than a doable challenge. Definitely. And
I'm
I
playing
reckon
Dark Souls with you. What do you mean?
yeah.
What do you mean?
Yeah, but I've done way more than you. So I should get the platinum way before you on that. But I think whoever fails their challenge has to take 5 shots next episode.
5 shots. Mate,
5
that
shots.
is...
I'll take 5 shots. I'm happy with that. I'm not getting that trophy. That's insane.
5
I'll
shots.
try. I'll put in a good graft.
Do it.
But that is ridiculous giving me that challenge. I hope you know, that is insane.
I think it's safer that we don't say 5 shots because that is a lot to drink, right, in any evening. And if you think that we're bound to mention that specific game as well, so that might be 6 or 7. So why don't we say, if you don't complete your challenge, the other 2 get a shot to hand out each? Because then it doesn't necessarily go to that person. I think that's a fairer forfeit for not completing your challenge. So when Spencer doesn't get the platinum, I get a shot to hand out and Davey gets a shot to hand out. All agreed? Because I've also been playing another game which is very, very interesting.
Yeah, would agree. Challenges have been set, listener.
Challenge accepted, as they say. So, my second game of these 2 weeks is a little game called Necromunda Hired Gun. So this is a first-person shooter published by Focus Home Interactive. This game takes place in the Warhammer 40k universe on the mechanized planet of Necromunda, where players work for various factions in the planet's criminal underworld. Have you guys heard of this game?
The word Necromunda rings a bell, but I couldn't connect it to anything. I have no idea.
So Necromunda is as I sort of explained, Necromunda is part of the Warhammer 40k universe, which is, again, part of Games Workshop. I am currently learning the game, or the second iteration of the game, because I used to play the original when I was a bit younger, and I'm going through painting models at the moment. So I'm currently doing a Goliath gang and a Vansar gang. I'm sure this, to some of our listeners, is going to make sense, but to probably the majority, it'll fly over their heads.
So, hold on. I thought you were playing this game a while ago on the podcast. weren't you?
No,
Wasn't that the one?
No. So there's actually been 2 Necromunda games in recent history. So there was a PC version, which was very much like the board game, so that was turn-based. And this iteration on the PlayStation 5 is a Doom clone, and a not very good one. It's speed-focused gameplay with heavy music that's, similar to what Doom sort of, wrote into our memories. But yeah, it just does not pull it off very well. It tries to force in story in between the actions via a central hub, which is Mithril's End. And this part's a bit more like an RPG where you go around kind of searching for your next mission, talking to people, collecting items. So it's a really weird, disjointed game. But because I like the universe, I'm seeing this with rose-tinted glasses. I would not recommend this game to anyone that isn't into Games Workshop and specifically Necromunda. This game received mixed to average reviews, and that's being kind. It got a 55% on Metacritic. So, yeah, as I said, would not recommend this game unless you like Necromunda. And when I say like, I mean love Necromunda.
55% is dog shit.
Isn't that the worst performing game we've ever had on the podcast so far?
It might well be.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Marquette beat that out.
Have a
I
look.
think that was just your score, Spence. You gave it a 7, like you give everything. Come on.
I gave it a 6, thank you very much. 70. It got a 70, mine.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go, a 7. Yeah. You were spot on with your
I said
review there,
6.
Spence.
I said 6.
Anyway, yes, it's a terrible game. Please don't play it. Davey, I see you've got some games you've been playing over the last 2 weeks. Why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, sure. So I've already talked about Dark Souls Remasters. So we won't go into any more of that. Now, listeners, you'll remember from last episode, I was playing Life is Strange. And at that point, or more specifically, I was playing Life is Strange 2. And at that point last week, I got to episode 3. There's 5 episodes across the entire game. And I'd kind of explained how I'd kind of turned around on the game. How the first episode didn't really hit with me very well. And then by the 3rd episode, it really became a personal tale and I really enjoyed it.
Go on.
It's all right. It's okay. It's good. It's good. It's just nowhere near as good as the original. And these last 2 weeks, I've been kind of racking my head about why it doesn't connect with me in the same way. And I think there's a couple of reasons. Listeners, basically, just to fill you in on what the game is. So the game essentially is a story of 2 brothers who escape a situation that happens in their hometown with their father, and they go on a cross-country journey of self-discovery. The one child has a set of powers, so he has Jean Grey's powers. So is that telekinesis, Spence?
Telekinesis, yeah.
That's what you're hoping for after your second COVID job, isn't it, Spence?
It is, mate. Yeah, I'd love telekinesis. Busted.
So yeah, so he's got telekinetic ability, and depending on the choices that you make, you determine which kind of path your baby brother goes in. Whether he becomes like a force for evil, or if he becomes a bit selfless, stuff like that. Now, the problem is, because of the nature of it being a cross-country journey, rather than it being kind of set in one location, like the original Life is Strange was, it means that you get this kind of revolving cast of characters that you never get too close with. And that kind of takes away from the experience a little bit, compared to what it was in the first one, where you kind of really form a relationship with Chloe's dad and Chloe's stepdad, David, and with her mother, and kind of Max and Chloe's bond that they have. You kind of don't really get that in this game, because people just kind of come and go. It's good. It's not great. It's definitely a step down. And unfortunately, it's also one of those choice-based games that it kind of doesn't give you all the options you want. So if you got a good choice game, then what happens is what you want to do, you can kind of have that option. So, if you want to tell someone just to if you want to beat someone up, or if you don't, or if you want to kind of say something antsy and see if they'll back down, things like that. Whereas in this game, it gives you 2 choices, and none of them fit what you want to say.
Very different to a game like Disco Elysium, where you literally have near enough infinite choice in what you do.
Yeah, kind of. And I suppose they have to pigeonhole you in a certain way, because it's a very story-based game, right? So they can't let it spiral out of control. It's got to go in a set path. But there was just some certain kind of skips in logic that I just didn't vibe with, and it kind of took me out of the experience a little. And I found that happened probably about 3 or 4 times over the game, whereas in the first Life is Strange, I don't recall having that happen to me.
Do you think this is down to them rolling out this second game a lot faster than maybe the first one? Possibly?
No, I don't think so. I think it's just a case that it's just a very different tale. And whereas the first one was kind of centered around music was like a really big part of the first game. You'd have like moments where there was something really emotional happen, and then a soundtrack would kick in, kind of like Death Stranding in a way, when you reach the like over a ridge and that music track kicks in. It's really emotive. That was used really well in the first game, and there's none of that in this game. And I think this game kind of suffers for it.
Are you trying to convince me to play the first game? I've already got Bloodborne to play. My year is filling up fast.
I think you should. I think, honestly, everyone in the audience, I think you should experience Life is Strange. I honestly think it's an incredible experience. Whereas Life is Strange 2, I think you can kind of skip. I think I'd probably give it... When the highs hit, they're really, really good. There's this one moment in the third chapter where you meet this girl, and the relationship you can kind of forge with her is really impactful for that short time you're with her. But unfortunately, like anything else, they kind of just revolve out the story, and I felt like that was kind of a misstep in how they told it. But I think realistically, what would I rate this? Probably a 6.5. Probably a 6.5, whereas the first one I'd probably give a solid 9. So it's a big step down for me. It doesn't ruin my interest in colours, which is out later on this year. I'm still really, really looking forward to that. But I was disappointed overall with Life is Strange 2. Have you guys got any interest in playing that at all?
No.
Cool.
And for me, I haven't played the first one yet, but it very much sounds like I need to start with the first one and not just skip to the second one. But yeah, my year is filling up fast if you're making me play Bloodborne as well.
It is, and I tell you what, there's one more game that I've been playing, which I am super, super hyped to talk about. So a couple of weeks ago, do you remember a listener wrote in and corrected us on Subnautica and how it was free and that we've already got it as part of the summer thing?
Yeah, and I hope he's still listening, because I do see him tweet from time to time, but not about us. Come on.
Why are you tweeting about anything other than us? Come on.
Exactly. The good, the bad, and the ugly. We want to hear it all.
So I was sitting there and I was thinking, after I wrapped Life is Strange, I thought, oh, what am I going to do? And I was kind of bouncing between games. You know, I was thinking, shall I play Dark Souls without Spence? And I was thinking, no, I can't do that. I'll wait for him and all this.
Oh,
This internal
that's
debate.
cute.
And then I noticed Subnautica. And I thought, oh, I'll give it a go. Right, I'll have an hour on it. Turned out I've now put 8 hours in over the last couple of days, and I literally cannot stop playing it. It's incredible. It's actually incredible. I love it. I absolutely adore it. For those who don't know, Subnautica is a survival-based game where you're crash land on an alien water planet, and you have to find a way off. And so it's all about building things and finding resources, finding food, finding water, building little bases, venturing deeper. And the story kind of unfolds through radio transmissions, which make you kind of investigate certain areas of the world. And how you get there, you know, do you want to build like a little portable craft that you kind of carry around and fly behind, like a little water jet engine? Or do you want to build like a massive giant submarine? It's all up to you and what you find across the world. And I cannot stop building stuff.
What perspective is this game played in, Davey?
It's first person.
First person. That's surprising in how you've explained the game. I wouldn't have imagined that, first person.
Yeah, it's kind of like, in a really crude way, I suppose, it's like Minecraft but underwater. In like, if you want to think about it like that, in terms of like you're collecting resources, you're building stuff, it's just a classic survival game in the same way that Minecraft kind of works. But it just looks really good. It looks really pretty on the PS5. It's I honestly, I can't gush about it enough. I built like this awesome underwater base that I showed Spence the other day, and he probably wasn't too impressed by it, but it took me hours to do. And that base is currently called Platinum 84 ? So it's either going to be that or Dark Souls, which is getting Platinum next. And I literally cannot wait to just get done with this podcast and play it some more.
If you get the Platinum on that one before Subnautica, do you have to pay a microtransaction to change the name of your building?
No, fortunately not. No, I'm just going to call it New Rapture after Bioshock.
Bioshock. Yeah.
But I thought it's not quite impressive enough to be Rapture yet. So, it's not quite there. So it's Platinum 84 ? And then eventually it will become New Rapture.
Are you actually playing on the PS5 patch? Because I know that was a free upgrade we got with Subnautica.
Yes, I am, yeah. So it pretty much eliminates like a lot of pop-in, and the textures look really good. They don't look incredible or anything, but they look good. It's kind of like got its own little art style. So it's not like hyper-realism or anything like that, but it's good enough that you still think, oh, this looks really pretty. When you come out of the deep water and come into the shallows and the god rays are kind of shining down, it does look really nice. But it's an art style more than realism.
That's what they're saying about Halo Infinite, mate. Is it like, did they add any like PS5 features, like anything with the controller, haptic feedback or adaptive triggers?
I haven't noticed anything. Nothing, especially not adaptive triggers. I haven't noticed a single thing. If they are in there, they're so minor that they've completely gone over my head. 3D audio is always difficult to tell sometimes because the headphones I'm wearing, like with my headphones, they don't support 3D audio. They're done through Dolby. It's like Dolby surround, so it's a little bit difficult sometimes to notice the 3D audio. But yeah, I don't really notice anything. The load times aren't exactly quick. When you load a world in, it takes ages to actually boot your game up. But when you're in there, there's no load times. It's all seamless. But yeah, I don't really notice anything. To me, I didn't play the original, so I don't have any kind of point of reference. But I'm really over the moon with it. And, if anyone's out there and you're looking for a game to play, just fire it up. You'll be surprised at how quickly it grabs you. I thoroughly recommend it. At the moment, I'd give it a solid 8 out of 10.
And you said this was free to download and play?
It was free, yeah. So a couple of months ago with the Days of Summer, Days of Play that happened a couple of months back in June, I think it was. It was one of the free games that was given away then. Out of those 5 that were given away. And yeah, it's fab. If you've got it and you've got it free, install it. Give it a try. Honestly, it's superb.
Has this made you like keen for the Subnautica Below Zero, the second game that's coming out soon?
It has actually, yeah. It actually has. I think I'm going to see how it fares going for the platinum on it. And a couple of the people I spoke to, like one of my friends, Tom, who I boosted Hardline with, he was saying that after you get to like the 20-hour mark on it, it gets a little bit wearing because you've got to find certain elements that are really hard to find. And it becomes a bit taxing at that point. So I'm going to kind of see how the journey goes for the platinum. And I may change my mind on it, but at this stage, thoroughly recommend it. Let's move on to quick news. Quick news.
So, boys, Tencent, the company that owns Riot Games, partially owns Activision Blizzard, published Call of Duty Mobile and PUBG Mobile and Pokemon Unite, have just bought Sumo Digital, the PlayStation devs. They developed Sackboy and Little Big Planet 3. A lot of people were concerned that this meant that Sumo Digital wouldn't be working on PlayStation anymore, but they've come out and they've literally said that Tencent will not intervene with Sumo Digital's future projects with PlayStation. So it's great. All I'm hoping for is this means now Sumo Digital has the money to make a netcode.
Quick news. Netflix are not charging extra for video games, something we talked about last episode, and we surmised that they would. They have come out and said, no, we will not be doing that.
Pro Evolution Soccer is now officially called eFootball. It's not only getting a new name, but it's getting a new engine, which includes new models, a new release style, and it's free to play, guys. Keep your eyes out in early autumn if you're into that football.
Quick news. PlayStation 5 has now sold 10 mil, confirming it as the fastest selling console of all time.
PS5's Destruction All-Stars is not dead, guys. Lucid Games, who's responsible for this vehicle combat title that you've already deleted off your PS5, is coming with a big update. They've promised better netcode, reduced cooldowns, a revised area for Season 2. I feel like they've missed the red warning flag with this one and should take their penalty points all the way back to the garage. I'm not convinced this is going to make any difference, I'm sorry.
Quick news. PS Plus lineup for August has been revealed. We have Plants vs. Zombies Battle for Neighborhood coming out on the PlayStation 4, Tennis World Tour 2 for the PlayStation 4, and the PS5 offering, the one that I'm excited for, is Hunters Arena Legends, which is on PS5 and PS4. So boys, what are your thoughts on the games this month?
Tennis, I'm not going to play that. Plants vs. Zombies might be fun with some mates, maybe you boys if you're keen for a few games. Hunters Arena, you were excited, I've seen it. As long as it's not cross-play with PC, I'll play it. And I'm sure it'll be fun, I'll give it a go. And depending on how that little test run goes, we'll see how it is.
Gutter trash. This is one of the worst months I've ever seen. As much as I went to Wimbledon, and I do enjoy watching tennis, I don't enjoy playing sports games, specifically tennis games, on PlayStation or any console. Plants vs. Zombies, that was great when it was a tower defense game, but now it is a first-person shooter. It's gash. And as Spencer said, I know, Davey, you said you were interested in Hunters Arena, and yeah, I'm sure I'll jump in. I've got the online now, so I'm up for playing a couple of games, but I don't hold out much hope for that one, unfortunately.
I got to agree with you guys, to be honest, for this. This is the worst month we've seen in a long time on PlayStation Plus. And PlayStation Plus, we got to look at this realistically now. Your luck's got to run out somewhere. And we've had some really, really good months. Since about October, all the way through to now, we've had pretty much a good game every single month. This is the exception. It's a pretty piss-poor month. Now, Hunters Arena Legends, I'm super hyped for. I can't wait for that. I mean, I was only hyping it up the last episode. Like Spence said, we'll check it out. If it's shit, it's getting deleted frame 1. And I just got to hope I don't get a trophy. Because there's nothing worse than when it's rubbish, you get a couple of trophies and it stains your list forever. You're at 1% forever. I hope that doesn't happen. Now, I am quite weirdly interested in the tennis game. Because I remember playing like virtual tennis back on their Dreamcast. And I loved that. So I'll give it a go. I might actually give it a go, you know. Play a bit of Nadal. I know him. Do they have entrance music in tennis?
No, it's not wrestling. You missed the boat on that one, mate.
Maybe I won't then. Bin it off. We are moving into the topics. So let's hit it. Stop! Topic time! Okay, the first topic of today is the EA Play event, which happened on the 22nd of July. We made some predictions on the last episode about the EA Play event. And I gotta say, boys, I was fucked over. We recorded that podcast on the Friday, and my prediction was that Skate was going to be shown. Literally the day after we made that prediction, Skate tweeted out and said, sorry, we're still early in development, it's not going to be there. And I knew immediately that I'd fucked up. Immediately. But I can't remember what your predictions were. So Phil, what was yours?
I went wild with predictions as I normally do. I don't ever play it safe, and I always go for the games that I really want to see. And my franchise was Command and Conquer. I wanted to see something about Command and Conquer in the EA Play event. And
Spencer, what was yours?
Yeah, I played it like a little bitch because we already knew it was getting shown. I said Dead Space remake, and it got shown.
So it means that we got to take a shot, Phil. Let's go get him, shall we? All right, so now our punishments are out of the way. Well done, Spencer, on winning that. Well, let's go through what they showed there, and then we'll get your opinions, guys, on how you think the overall presentation went. So in terms of what was shown, we had The Sims 4 Cottage Living Expansion Pack, Grid Legends, Apex Legends Emergence, Lost in Random, Knockout City, Battlefield Portal, and Dead Space. So, Phil, let's start with yourself. What did you think of the conference overall?
I'll admit to you, I didn't actually watch it until earlier before the podcast, and I didn't actually watch it all. I just watched some highlights throughout it. I'm assuming in a minute you'll ask me which game stood out to me.
You must be reading my mind. Yes, which game stood out to you?
So the games that stood out to me, in particular, were the Battlefield 2042 update. So this is coming out October 22nd. So this, in the EA Play event, we talked about Battlefield Portal. So this is an all-new community-driven platform where players will be given the ability to discover, create, and share unexpected battles, or that's what it says on the Wikipedia. This mode will allow you to take over fan favourite maps from across Battlefield games and build custom experiences featuring characters, vehicles, gadgets and weapons in a near endless combination. So what I'm talking about here, guys, is people, they're going to have the ability to set up custom matchups. So it could be people in tanks versus people with knives. It could be as crazy as that. It could be literally anything, any sort of matchup or mashup you want to do in the Battlefield universe. That's going to be possible in Battlefield 2042.
Yeah, that portal system looked awesome, especially seeing maps come back from like Battlefield 3. Oh man, I love that game so much. I mean, I spoke about how much I love that game on the podcast before. So seeing like fan favorite maps from there come back and seeing like Nazi soldiers versus, 2042 infantry, like a whole division of like Nazi soldiers versus like 3 2042s. I thought that was just class, like the different things you can do. I think we're going to have a lot of fun with that. Gotta say, I was really impressed by that too.
I'm really excited to it. So I'm a Amazon Prime subscriber, and at the moment, every couple of months, they're giving you a new version of Battlefield, which has been quite good to sort of reminisce in the older versions of Battlefield. So it's getting me real hype now for 2042. Can't wait till October. I think it's possibly going to be a day one for me, actually.
Yeah, definitely going to be a day one for me. I cannot wait for it. You get past the month of hell in September, and then it's all game on. Cannot wait. What about yourself, Spence? What spoke to you? I can kind of guess already what you're going to say, but let's hear it.
Yeah, I don't care about most of these games, not going to lie. And also, similar to Phil, I didn't watch the EA Play event, except I haven't watched it at all. I haven't even seen highlights. But I did see some stuff on Twitter. Saw some thumbnails and titles on YouTube when I was scrolling when this event happened. And there's only one game in there that I like, and that's the Dead Space remake. That's what I'm excited for. I'm sure I'll play Battlefield 2042 with you boys if we're all playing it, because I'll have to. Podcast contractually obliged, But Dead Space remake is what I'm saying. That game, we haven't seen anything, but it's gonna be sick. As long as they don't fuck it too much, they don't change anything. Just be Blue Point.
How hype was it hearing the Twinkle Twinkle Little Star music?
It's hype. It's sick.
That initial trailer when it was originally shown back in like 2006 or whatever it was, with Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, was just so iconic. And to see that come back again and see like that sign right at the start of the game where it says like cut off their limbs, see all that be remade and everything. Oh, so hyped. I cannot wait.
You guys have all played the originals, but for me, this will be my first time dipping into the series, and I'm really looking forward to it because, again, it's one of those games that you have talked about historically that have been very good, and I haven't found the time to dip in, so this is a perfect opportunity for me. But one of the facts we do know, it's going to be built on the Frostbite engine, so that can harness the new power of the next generation gaming hardware, and guys, it is an exclusive for PS5 and Xbox Series X and S and PC.
Yeah, it's next gen only, isn't it? Which is really, really exciting. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many times I have to beat the same drum here, but moving away from PlayStation 4 as soon as you possibly can is only going to be good for the future of your games. And the sooner we move away and we leave that generation in the dust, the better. So seeing that news, that was probably the most exciting bit for me, was seeing that it was next gen only. I was so excited by that because this game is going to look beautiful. Frostbite's a great engine, and I cannot wait to see what they do with this and really focus it on having that single player experience with no microtransactions, no bullshit. The only thing I'm kind of gutted about is that when I played that game originally, I paid 75p to have the PlayStation 3 skin, which is like a full black skin with blue lights. So I won't be able to have that.
You are a sucker, mate. You love all this bullshit, don't you?
Mate, it was cool. The skin was sick. If you saw that skin, you'd be like, yeah, 75p bargain. Buy that immediately. What I didn't realize though, and this is going against everything I believe in, that suit was non-upgradable. It was the best suit for the start of the game. So I never had to worry about item space, never had to worry about any of that on my first run through the game. And it wasn't until I played it later for the Platinum and played it the second time on hard, didn't use that suit, that I realized, oh Christ, I missed out on upgrading everything.
What a cheat.
What a sucker.
75p to spoil the game.
Yeah, I didn't know though.
Pretty much, because you thought it was a nice flashy outfit.
I was a dumb kid.
Right, but what about for the mere price of 75p? Although we're on PS5 now, so it'll probably be like 15 quid. A PS5 skin instead.
What, white?
Yeah, white and blue.
Don't ruin it, mate. Don't ruin the game.
Don't give EA any ideas, Spence. Okay, don't give them any ideas. They're saying they're moving their strategy back from being away from these free-to-play bollocks, microtransaction-laden games and focusing on single-player experiences. That sounds amazing to me. They had so much success with the last Jedi Fallen Order game that they're obviously carrying that same mantra into this. And that fills me with so much confidence. I just really hope they treat the franchise with the same level of care that they should have treated it with originally. Because they started going down this whole rabbit hole of just shitting out sequels. And the first two are absolutely incredible. The second one's actually my favourite out of all three of them. But that third game was such a stumble and a miss. Let alone you had 2 spin-off on-rail shooters, an anime, 2 movies. It was too much.
And he was in PlayStation All-Stars, wasn't he? As DLC, price DLC, wasn't he? He was quite expensive, if I remember rightly.
I think it was a $5, and you could buy him for like 15 quid, and he came with Zeus, and I can't remember the third character. It might have been Kat from Gravity Rush. She was in the game as well. I think that was the DLC pack you could buy for all 3, if I remember rightly. But yeah, Isaac Clarke, what a legend. So glad to see him back. That's my favourite game too. No lie. Now, unlike you guys, I actually watched the conference. And I tell you what, it was good. It was really, really well done, I thought. It moved at a really good pace. It was about half hour long. And it was done by that wrestler. What's his name?
Ric Flair?
His name was Austin Creed.
That's it. And he was great. He really presented it really, really well, moved it along really nicely. And I thought it was a really well-produced show. Some of it really just didn't speak to me. Like Lost in Random looks absolutely awful. It's the kind of game that I would really like normally. Like with Stray or with Fist, it's that kind of thing, but it just looks way worse. And just nothing ever spoke to me about it, and that's probably the worst game that was shown there, apart from Dodgeball Game, Knockout City or whatever. I can't give a flying fuck about that. But apart from that, Battlefield was great, Dead Space was great, Grid looked really good actually. I think if anyone's into racing, Grid looked sensational. Like a full story mode, where you're taking like some racer who's part of this random crew and they're like kind of fighting, and it's all done with real actors. That looked really, really interesting for all you racing heads. But yeah, I think overall, as anyone who can probably give a rating on this, I'd probably give it a good solid 6.5. I thought it was decent.
I find it mad that they're still bringing out content for The Sims. It's not like a new version of The Sims, is it?
Time for Sims 5, I reckon.
Yeah, no one even likes Sims 4 as well. Most people are still playing Sims 3.
You know how I feel? I think any game just needs a sequel. I mean, where's World of Warcraft 2? Where's League of Legends 2? All these games, they're just hanging around forever. At least Dota, you got a sequel, you got Dota 2. Time for Dota 3, I reckon. I think it's just time to move it on.
Well, then why are we getting Dead Space remake? Where's Dead Space 4?
I'd love Dead Space 4. This will be the one that reintroduces the franchise. Dead Space 1 and 2, and then number 3, you just skip straight to 4.
I've got a Davey-esque question for you. Who was the first person to do a remake? Who's caused all this? What game was the first remake of a game?
The first one I can really think of, in all honesty, is the game that I just realised what you're trying to do.
Well, that's what I thought it was, right? But I it's probably not, is it? If we Googled it, I'm sure there's been a game that's been remade, right?
I think the whole remake thing that started it was probably the Crash Insane trilogy.
Is that before Capcom started doing it?
This is 2017, Crash Insane.
Maybe something for us to look up and talk about on a future episode. I think it's quite an interesting topic, who started that and where it's kind of progressed over gaming, because it seems to be kind of a standard thing that we accept these days for people to recycle content, but just upscale it to the newest graphics, and we're just kind of okay with that. A lot of us are anyway.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you always shit on them for being remakes. You don't count them in your Game of the Years and things like that. But
100%. It's like with Death Stranding, like this director's edition, I'm not going to class as in my top 5 games or anything like that, but it's going to be an amazing game, right?
Yeah, cool. That does make sense. I think, listeners, if you've got anything to add into this, then write into the email, pswetrust@gmail.com. if you have any idea what could have been the one that started this wave off, my head immediately is going to Shadow of the Colossus for PS3 when it was up-resed, and then PS4 when it was completely redone. That's where my head's going, but I'd love to hear your opinions on this. And I think, as Phil said, it would be a good idea when we're having a slow news week to really expand on this and really go into it as a topic. So if you want to hear that, let us know, and we can always push it up into the next episode.
Okay, guys, I have a serious topic for you. I want to talk about the Activision Blizzard lawsuit that's currently going on. So over 2,000 current and former employees from across Activision, Blizzard and King have signed a letter to the company's management calling for a response to the recent lawsuit abhorrent and insulting.
I've seen this floating around, but I know nothing about the details or anything. So could you explain it to me a bit better,
Sure.
please?
So this is a lawsuit that a lot of us have been hearing about. I've been seeing it pop up on Twitter quite often, but I do follow a lot of WoW heads. So this relates to widespread sexual harassment and discrimination at the company. Activision Blizzard, they employ around 9,500 staff. So we've got close to 20% of the staff now sign this petition, and it's growing by the day. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on this, or I know, Spence, you said you haven't sort of heard too much about this. But yeah, what are you guys sort of feeling?
I'll take this first, just so then this might kind of give Spence something to kind of ponder on a little bit. So yeah, I've been keeping up to date with this, and it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy, like what's happening here with this lawsuit and everything else. And for me, when I think about it, and the name that keeps coming up for me is Alex Afrasian, and I'm probably murdering that name, but he was the ex-creative director of World of Warcraft, and he was let go back in 2020 because of the stuff that he was pulling. And what's mad is that he was constantly getting filed with HR about, sexual misconduct, about how he'd be there at an event with a female member of staff, and he'd be putting her hands all around her and kind of going to kiss her and stuff like that.
Yeah, it seems to me from what I've been reading historically about this, it seems like Blizzard are kind of just trying to handle it themselves, but it's got to a point now where the employees are basically rising up against the management here and having their voices heard.
Yeah, and this is it. I mean, how many times do you have to put a report into HR about sexual misconduct and that before it actually gets listened to? And I suppose this is the problem with the video game industry at large, and most industries, to be honest, to be completely frank with you, is that if you got somebody who's kind of pivotal to the team, do you want to let them go? If you got something like World of Warcraft, right, which at its time and even now is still hugely profitable, massive deal to Blizzard and to Activision's underlying profit, and you got the guy who's kind of responsible for seeing that through and making you that money. If one person kicks off about that and says that, oh, he's kind of, there's chances are he sexually, assaulted me, you probably think, okay, yeah, we'll tell him off, but we're not going to fire him, right? He's too valuable to us. And that's the problem, is that sometimes you gather that level of power and you become kind of untouchable.
So what you're saying is, if you're good, you are given, I suppose, more allowances in life.
Definitely, 100%. I think that's not even up for debate. You get two people, one person who's in a position of power that is kind of meaningful to the company rather than being just a number, and they're going to hold more sway. They're going to be bros with the people that are there to fire them. So Alex, can you not touch everyone up, please? We got a business to run. Can you just try and not touch them up? Yeah, all right, mate, no worries. I won't do it again. No problems, boss. Oh, cool. Whereas if it's someone else, you're fired, gone, done. You're done with us, right? But you don't get that if you've got a high level of power.
I've worked for many companies throughout my life, and I've definitely been involved in companies that treat people very differently based on their skill level. If you're not performing in your job and you do something which is out of line, I'm not really specifically talking about sexual harassment here because obviously that's terrible. But if you go against the grain of the company, then you are 100% out, right? You do something that's outside the rules, then you're out straight away. But if you are shit hot at your job, you're just allowed that extra bit of leeway when it comes to HR. And I believe that's what's happened with Activision Blizzard here.
Definitely, 100%. I completely agree with that. Now, what's really good is that the studio now have said, right, we're doing well, not the studio themselves, but the workers have staged a strike and they've had a walkout. And so they've had a walkout and they said, none of us are working. And the people at the studio obviously are quite low in terms of numbers because of COVID. So a lot of them are working from home, so doing virtual walkouts. And they've just literally just not logged into work. So just not doing any work for the day, nothing like that. And to Blizzard and Activision's credit here, they said that they'd pay them. So even though they're not coming in, they said, yeah, we're paying you for it. We support this. Now, Bobby Kotick, for those who don't know, is the head of Activision Blizzard. So one of the most well-paid CEOs in gaming, especially. And he's not exactly well regarded in the gaming sphere because only last year he got a bonus. I think it was like in like 15 million range. But to be able to get that, he then fired like 200 staff to cut costs so he can make sure he's still got a bonus. Stuff like that. There's like some crazy stuff he's done. But on the other end of it, if you want to look without emotion involved, he's also created the biggest gaming studio and publisher in the world. So he should be worth a premium. So I can see it from that angle, that this guy is worth the money he's being paid because they're bringing in record profits every single year. You don't do that without having a big salary to keep him involved, right? But anyway, he released a letter, which he was like, I completely agree with everyone. This has been a failure in our company. We'll do better. We'll strive to do better. We'll listen to you, la, 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 la. And it's like, well, do you know what? If someone's raised it in HR for years, where does the buck stop here? Like, at what point does someone's head need to roll? And sure, this Alex Afrazi guy, his head's gone, right? He's been binned off. But there's surely been an issue with management. Now, I'm not saying that it's at Bobby Kotick's level, because I think the difference that a lot of video game pundits aren't seeing is that they don't realize that in a big company, things are segregated. So the CEO is not going to see a HR matter. They're not. That's not going to even remotely land on their desk. It's going to be in the HR department. And the HR department need to go. They just need to get completely sacked off, started from the start. Or if not completely sacked off, they need to be retrained and they need to have better internal process to be able to handle this. Because that's where I think the failing is.
You say it's a failing, but there is another side to this coin slightly, isn't there? Where you think about Activision Blizzard, you know, how long has this company existed? And have their morals and has the way the HR department sort of operated moved with the times? From what you're telling me, it very much sounds like they're still treating it like it was the 90s or the 80s, really, in how they're treating people. This day and age, this cannot happen.
I think you're right. I think, you know, right now I'm gonna do something this time. I'm gonna put myself in the shoes of this Alex Afrazi. So just to give you a little bit more context, what's happened since on Kotaku is that they've come out and there's been a room called the Cosby room, which has come out. And it's whenever they've hosted BlizzCon, he's had a pad where they basically go drink in the pad and bring women back.
Is that what it's actually called, or is that just an unfortunate name because of...
No, that's what it's called. That's what they call it. That's what they call it.
I did not know that. That is crazy to call it that. It's like calling it the Jimmy Savile Suite.
Yeah. You
know, the Ian Watkins layaway.
Yeah, they got it. They got Bill Cosby's picture in a little frame, and the purpose of it.
No, you're making this up now.
No,
man.
I'm not making this up.
People will fact check you.
I'm
They've got a picture of Bill Cosby in the room.
Yeah. They take it with them.
They take it with them.
This investigative report by Kotaku came out, and this happened in 2013, right? So it was just before Bill Cosby got found out, like, properly for what he was doing. But yeah, so the reason why it's called the Cosby Suite is because the interior design of the suite was like really garish, and so it matched like the kind of ties that Bill Cosby would wear on the Cosby Show and stuff like that. That's what they're saying the reason was, but other people are like, nah, it's just called the Cosby Room because we would just take girls up there and bang them.
That sounds like the weakest excuse ever. It's like, Davey, why have you got that Hitler flag behind you? Oh, I just like red and black and white. You know, I just thought it was a nice symbol. You know, it's that kind of like excuse to it, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a really bad excuse. But if I put myself right, like, listen, this is going to be difficult for a lot of the internet to do. And I know that you guys are better than a lot of the internet. So I'm not going to treat you like children. I'm going to talk to you like adults. If you think, right, 2013, it's, 8 years ago now. So I would have been, how old would I have been? 24, I think, 23. And when I was single back in the day, and we'd go on like a lad's holiday, we'd have a room, and you'd be pre-drinking up in the room. You go to an event, you'd be pre-drinking there. The whole intention of that weekend was you're going to get some girls, you're going to bring them back, right? And that was the whole intention of the weekend. Now, I can see what could have happened over the years here with Blizzard, in that they start off, they're a small company. They start making inroads. They got a couple of key staff that are working in the studio. The studio is maybe 20 people deep. You go and you like hire a hotel, bring a couple of girls back, and then it gets the room that is the Cosby room, right? And so then every single year going on, it's got the same name to it. Yeah, I can't wait for us to go to this thing. We're going to have this annual event. We're going to get trashed, bring a couple of girls back, have a good time. But the problem is then, when your company grows to being like 9,000 people strong, you can't have that same mentality of going out and just picking up women and doing really crazy stuff when you got your staff there. Like, it's a different level. You're not like 20 anymore. You're like 42. There's a time where you've got to move on.
But the difference is now, if I say I'm a Blizzard employee, that has some sway with women, right? It's like back in the day, Davey, where we were cracking onto girls going, I'm in a band. It's the same sort of effect. That's a panty dropper.
The band is, I tell you what, you say you're a guitarist in a band and you're only stopping into town because you just played a gig. And I tell you what, those pants are dropping left, right, and centre. It's like the time, Phil, that we said we were airplane pilots and we'd just flown in for the night. And girls are dropping left, right, and centre that night.
It's exactly that, right? And if I'm saying I'm a Blizzard employee, I think that's going to hold more sway. But this isn't just in the silo of Blizzard. You only have to go on Twitter to see this throughout gaming. There's a company called Method, who are big WoW players, right? And they've just been caught out for abusing their celebrity to pull women. And a lot of them have had to move on from the company. It's just mad what you can say these days, right? If you get into gaming because this... How to explain it?
Well, I think what you're trying to get at, and correct me if I'm wrong, and Spencer can just cut this out, but it used to be an insular hobby, gaming. And so it used to be that,
Correct.
you know...
That's where I was going.
Who are you going to pick up if you're a gamer back in, like, the 2000s, the early 2000s? I don't know, maybe a 40-year-old bloke at an internet bar? That's about it, right? You're not going to get any women from it.
You go to the club, and it's me staring at you at the table. That's what's there, right? There's no pretty young thing that's cosplaying the character of your dreams. And that's what BlizzCon, and that's what all these conventions are like. You've been with me, mate. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's a madness. It's either one of two things, and it depends on how nihilistic you are, I suppose. And maybe it's just me being a bit more of having a more positive mindset and hoping for the best. But you'd hope that it's somebody who's not realized that either A, times have changed, or B, that they have a certain semblance of power that they're abusing, in which case that they're still acting like they were back in the late 90s, early 2000s, and things have moved on a lot further from that.
But this is kids doing it now, though. In my example of the guys at Method, they're not at the age to have been in power in the 80s or the 90s. They've just got in power now, and they're abusing it.
Yeah, well, that's just them being just a dickhead, isn't it? That's just, I mean, look, the way my dad explains
Very eloquently put, they are dickheads.
The way my dad explains the human condition is probably the best way I've ever heard it said. So my dad always says that, look, doesn't matter what age you were born in, doesn't matter if you're in like the greatest generation who fought in the war, or if you're now, society is built up on people that are dickheads or they're not. Right? You got people that do nasty shit, that do heinous shit, and people that don't. And unfortunately, you get this split across all of society, and 99% of the time, I'd say you're probably going to meet a nice person. That's kind of my viewpoint. But you got that 1% who are just absolutely sociopathic. that are just dickheads who do not care about anyone else's opinion or anyone else's feelings and will use power to their advantage to do that. And in your explanation there, that sounds like in that 1%.
Do you not think they're opportunistic then?
Oh,
Because
100%.
Because they've run a successful Twitter or a successful Twitch channel. They've taken down a few, bosses within World of Warcraft that are quite notable. They've done a couple of world's firsts, and these girls just gravitate towards them, and they've just abused it. In my example of the guys at Method, but in your example of the guys at Blizzard, all you got to say is, "I work for Blizzard."
Well, all you got to say is, "Oh, do you want to start in the video game industry, or do you want me to move you up the ranks?" Well, I'm going to start lecturing on you, and you're not going to say anything because you're going to get fired. I'll find a way to fire you, right? If you got that level of power, what you kind of feel trapped in a certain. I can understand why somebody would feel trapped into having to either conform or to go with the grain, and then when you try and report it with anonymity through HR, and HR don't listen to you, where else do you go? So I think this kind of thing is inevitable. Now, I do have a solution for this, and then I'm going to hand it over to Spencer because I think he's heard enough then by that point. But I've got a solution for this. Why don't they just fucking unionize? Why doesn't a studio, if you've got that many people there, unionize? Now, unions are huge over here in the UK, and I know they're big over in America as well, but in America, they're like kind of bigger things, right? They're like trade specific. Well, over here in the UK, if you've got a company that's a good size with a few thousand employees, generally it has a union which you can join. Now, that union is paid for by the members who work in that individual company, and the whole point of that union is that they know the internal rules of that company, which the managers often don't remember. And so when something's going on like a HR issue, you can bring in the union to act on your behalf. And all they do is they back up every single thing that company's already got written down they've stated they're going to do, or the laws they should be following, the rules they should be following by their internal processes, and they back that person up. They represent all the workers underneath them. So when you go for a talk on wages or holiday pay or anything like that, the union is there as the force of power for the many. Now, all Blizzard have to do is form a fucking union, and this wouldn't happen. And the gaming industry does my fucking tits in when they talk about unions, because they say it will never work. It will never work for us to have a union. It won't work if you do it as an industry-wide union, no, because the individual studios have their own individual rules. But if you've got a studio where there's more than like a couple of hundred people in it, form a union amongst yourself. Just fucking form a union. I don't understand what's so hard about it. You just literally pay somebody from everyone's contributions to represent you all that knows every single thing about that company on the internal processes, and they represent you. They go to the trade meetings for you. They are the one that has the debate with the employer about what you stand for, and if they don't agree, you strike. And that's how a union works. And I just do not understand why that hasn't happened yet.
Good point. And you think the amount of people that have got behind this petition at the moment, as I said earlier, we got 20% of staff, so that's over 2,000 out of the 9,500 staff, and is growing at the moment. So why haven't they considered that as an option? I don't know.
It's because the conversation always seems to circle back to an industry-wide union, and that will never work. That will never work, because how do you have the same rules for Blizzard as you have for, say, Sumo Digital, which are based over here in the UK? Totally different trade laws, totally different kind of everything. Everything's totally different as soon as you cross even company boundaries, let alone international water boundaries. And what you can do in terms of the legislative law that's built into protecting the employment and the employer and the employee. It's completely different. You can't do it as an industry. You have to do it on the individual basis. And it's in the best interest of the workers to do it themselves and to set it up and just get it done. These unions don't just start out of nowhere. People in this country died by the hundreds and the thousands to get workers' rights and to get unions. Just do a union.
Okay, Davey's on his high horse here. Spence, do you have anything to sort of add to the conversation?
I can't say too much that hasn't already been said. You boys understand this worlds more than I do. The one thing I can say is that the example where you put yourself in Alex Afrasabi or Afrasabi's shoes. You said like Afrasonchi. Crazy. But I don't think the example really works, because your example is you're him on a night out. You see a bird, you pull her. That's what you did back then. That's different than going to a girl who works at the same company as you that can actually speak to HR. If you see a girl on a night out, you speak to them, even at BlizzCon, they can't talk to HR.
I think the point was that we were trying to say that people were abusing their power. So on a night out, you would claim to be in a band, right? And it's an attractive thing that you would abuse. I think that was kind of the area we were going for a little bit.
Yeah, and I think it's more of a case of like when the company's not very big, right, and you don't have that much power, like even if you're a creative director but there's 20 people under you, are people really gonna, can you really abuse that power? Like you might say, oh, I'm gonna bring like Sandra from HR up here and we'll drink and chat to her, but there's not like too much of an abuse of power there. Whereas if you're the creative director of a massive studio earning millions and you bring up little intern Sally who works in the, testing games or whatever, and you bring her up there to this massive party with all the top brass, there's a high chance there that there's going to be something going the wrong way, that you're going to be abusing that power.
Exactly. Yeah, but that's what I mean. They know they're abusing the power. They know something's going to go wrong. All they have to do is go somewhere and be like, oh yeah, you might not play games or know anything about games, but I'm a millionaire. I'm a CEO, Blizzard. Sure, you've never heard of them. Fine, but here's my money. Do you want drinks for the next 2 weeks? Bang, sorted. Come shag me. They don't need to do it in their own company, and it's horrible that they're doing it anyway.
So Spence, you're basically giving them tips for what to do so you don't get caught. Is that the angle that you're going on here?
Here's the way around it. You come down to Newport and you tell girls you got £1 million in it, and you say, come and shag me, I got 1 million.
Yeah, it'd work. I guarantee it'd work. But just don't do it in your own company. If I went on a night out, I wouldn't see someone who I've known since I was a kid or I've known that could grass on me.
So you're saying don't stop the abuse, but just make sure you do it so you don't get caught.
No, that's what I'm saying. They're treating people horribly. You shouldn't do it at all.
Lesson of the day, don't shit on your doorstep.
Don't shit on your doorstep. Absolutely. It's horrible to do it at all, but if it wasn't for all this coming out now, no one would even know about the Cosby Room. Cosby Room's mad as well, by the way. Obviously, I wasn't talking this whole time, but that's insane. It's actually... They've got framed photos, jokes. It's horrible, but it's really funny. I'm not going to lie. The room itself is funny. What the room's used for isn't. That's what I'll say.
It's so surreal. It's so surreal. It really is. Phil said I'd be on my high horse, and yeah, I have been, right? I've been telling them what to do. But the problem is, like we said last time, a lot of games reviewers and games journalists, they don't have a fucking clue about the real world. They're saying about crunch. Oh, crunch is really bad. They're working like 50-hour weeks. It's like, oh, for fuck's sake. Come on, get in the real world. Loads of people doing shit like that, right? Like, I think sometimes you just got to... Like, we're not in the gaming industry, right? We're not even remotely connected to it.
We're what's known as outliers, aren't we? We're on the edge. We try and talk about this topic and try and claim some knowledge just because we've played a few games. But ultimately, yes, we are not in the gaming industry at all.
But I think that gives us a good perspective on it because we're looking at it from a real life perspective. If this was any other industry, what would be done? And it would be unions, and that would be it. Unions, and it would be handled in HR because the HR would be a professional outfit.
Mate, if we were in the video games industry, we'd have got cancelled.
Immediately.
Episode 1.
We'd be in that Cosby Room, mate.
We'd be in that Cosby Room straight away, mate. I don't know what you're saying.
What, for the good reasons or the bad reasons?
Bit of both. Spence would be the bad, by the sounds of it. He'd be the one saying, don't do it on the doorstep, all right? Don't go for Sally. She works for us. Go for that bird over there.
Christ. And on that note, Spencer, I hear you've got another topic for us.
So, boys, finally on to my topic and the last topic of the evening. PS5 has had a new beta out. Basically, this beta is available for select users in US, Canada, Japan, UK, Germany, and France. And Davey, you and I were both kind of selected or given the opportunity to join this beta.
And we chose not to because we were like, well, we'll let some other mugs test it. And now I'm absolutely gutted.
Exactly. Well, my PS5's buggy enough as is. As all you listeners know, my PS5 sucks. So I'm glad I'm not in it, even though this beta is quite nice. I'll explain. The biggest thing, or at least for me, that they've added in this beta is finally NVMe 2 support. So Sony have said you'll need an M2 SSD that's PCIe Gen 4 and has read specs of 5500 megabytes or faster. This includes a lot of NVMe 2 SSDs, including Samsung's 980 Pro and Western Digital's SN850s, and many other modern M2 SSDs. But the issue with it is that you may need to consider the cooling requirements of using an M2 SSD in a PS5.
Yeah, so going off that point, yeah, it's not as simple as get on the beta, plug and play, and your games are instantly faster. Okay, so Sony have come out and they've basically said that even if you put one of these new kind of up to spec hard drives into your PlayStation, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to experience faster speeds. So it's them basically trialing it across the users that have PS5 and are on the beta, just to get some feedback, really, more than anything. So for me, I don't feel like that would be a proposition which I'd really like to take up. If I was on the beta, I wouldn't have signed up for that one in particular. But there are a couple of other things within this, isn't there, that seem quite interesting.
Yeah. So they've said, obviously, to use an M2 SSD, the slot in the PS5 where you place it isn't very heat efficient. You need a heatsink in place, which sucks. But you can attach one to your M2 SSD yourself, either in single-sided or double-sided format, just to help dissipate the heat. But Sony have also said that read speeds of Gen 4 drives to 5500 megabytes or faster are recommended. It cannot guarantee that they will meet the described specifications in order to work on your console, even if they're above the speeds. So yeah, that's about it for the NVMe 2 drives. It's not great. I'm quite happy to not be in that part of the beta.
I think it's quite a costly exercise, really, for very little gain. I don't know who the hell's taking that up. But for what reason, if you're not going to experience the faster speeds? Like, why would you do this?
It's not about the faster speeds, it's about just having increased memory storage, isn't it? That's all it is. It's just literally just so you can install more games onto the hard drive instead of being limited to the 825 that PlayStation's got available to use. That's all it's for. It's just literally just to increase your memory so that you can store more games on your hard drive. Now, personally for me, even when this goes live, now, you got to remember, listeners, and for you guys too, that when Sony first initially said that they were going to be rolling this out, so when it does officially get rolled out, on the website they're going to have a list of approved drives that matches the specification and ones that they recommend. And that's what they originally said when they sold the PlayStation 5. So I imagine that's going to happen when this initially goes live, is they'll have partners or they'll have different drives they've tested themselves that they know work properly, and they'll have those on the website. So I don't think there's anything to worry about. Now, I've seen Twitter like really going off on this and really saying like, oh, it's such a stupid storage solution, they should have a proprietary system. I completely disagree, because all you have to do is look back at the Vita. The Vita had proprietary memory, and it was so expensive for what it was. When it came out originally, it was priced fairly decently, but only a year later, that memory was insane. You were paying like £100 for a 64 gig memory card. It was insane. Whereas an SD card for that size would cost you like £12.50 at like a year later. And now it's like pence, it's like nothing.
I'm really glad that Sony, they aren't following in Apple's footsteps and being a closed system, because as you said, that's what the PSP and the Vita was, in the sense that you had to use Sony's proprietary memory cards.
Yeah, and the cost just always stays high then. And that's why I think Xbox have gone wrong with their partnership with Seagate, is that they've gone down the proprietary route. And sure, they've made it so that it's really easy, kind of just plug it in and it's done. But the problem is those cards are always going to remain quite expensive. They're not really going to get much cheaper because the market size isn't big. Whereas if you've got aftermarket parts, give it a year, 2 years from now, that'd be worth nothing. Those SSDs would be really cheap to buy. So I think longer term, it's a really smart decision. And really, how big is the market size that are actually going to do this to their PS5? Very small, I'd argue. When I had my PS3, I only knew like 2 other people that had bothered to increase the memory size. And same for PS4, I only knew 2 other people that have done it. I personally am not interested in upgrading my storage size. I really enjoy deleting games off when I'm done with them. I really enjoy it. It's really cathartic. And I think majority of people are like myself in that.
I'll literally say, yeah, I'm exactly like yourself. As much as I like speed, I like having more storage. It's always a great thing. The next SSD I'm buying, it's not for my PS5, it's for my PC, for the podcast. There is no way I'm probably going to get NVMe 2 drive unless it's cheap and this whole heat issue is solved. But I don't want a heatsink on the side of my PS5 just so I could have an extra terabyte when I could easily just delete games when I'm done.
I don't think, companies trying to control what hardware that you sort of use with their systems really works. I think even Apple now are changing the way they're thinking about it. They moved to sort of lightning connector, didn't they, with the newest iterations of the iPhone? But the next ones, they're going to be USB-C. They're going to go to the industry standard. And that's what Sony is doing now with giving you the options to use any, I say any, but it's got to be M2, SSD, PCIe, Gen 4 that meet a certain requirement. It's still much more open than it would be if Sony said you have to buy a specific drive.
Yeah, exactly. And this is one of those problems that's like a here and now problem, which I think really, out of the 10 million PlayStation 5s that are in the wild, what's the percentage of that that's going to really do this? Maybe 1,000? Maybe, let's be generous. Say it's 100,000, right? People that do that. That's still negligible. That's still nothing. That's like 90%, not even 90%. That's like nothing. That's like nothing, really. I mean, I could do the quick maths if you really wanted me to, listener, and I'm sure Spence could edit it, but nobody cares. It's nothing, right? It's negligible. I don't see this being an issue, and especially in a couple of years down the line, they're going to be cheap as shit. You can just upgrade it then if you really want to. But to be fair, I'll just wait till the PlayStation 5 Pro.
We've really focused in on the addition of the storage space here with the SSDs. Spence, what else was in that beta? Because I know there was a couple of other key points here.
Right, yeah. The next thing that I've noted down is that they're giving 3D audio capabilities to built-in TV speakers when you're playing games. That's weird. I understand, and it makes sense, and I think it will work, but nowhere near to the level of a headset. What are your boys' thoughts on this?
I'm really interested in this, right? So I've always been someone to get Sony TVs. So I'd like to try this out if my TV supports this option. I quite like the way that you set 3D audio up. Apparently you use the DualSense controller, a lot like you would do. I don't know if you boys have seen how you set up the Sonos surround sound system, but you basically go around the room with your phone, holding it at different positions, and you do that with the DualSense controller for the PlayStation for 3D audio. I might just go through that process anyway, regardless that I probably will end up using headsets for future games.
I think that's really interesting. And I think for a lot of people, they don't play with a headset. They play just with their TV. You got to think about the wider market rather than just the hardcores here. And the hardcores, yeah, sure, they're going to have probably headsets and they're going to have good mics and stuff like that, maybe streaming setups. But the vast majority of people, they just want to play FIFA or just want to play COD, and they'll just have their TV with just this TV speakers, and they're cool with that. Maybe a soundbar as a maximum.
And obviously you need the 3D audio just to hear where the ball lands in FIFA.
Exactly. How are you supposed to tell where it's going to be, Christ. You need to hear when the crowd are, shouting at you or whatever, and hear where they are in relation to you.
Or the ball falls behind you rather than the crowd.
Yeah, the crowd, definitely. The crowd, you want to hear the crowd pumping out from the left side, chanting all loads of bollocks at you. And you want to be able to hear that in real time, proper and feel, oh, he's on the left. I'm going to smack a ball right over to him in a minute. Spark him out, spark a 10-year-old kid out for a shot straight in there. But no, I think it's cool. I think it's really decent. I personally, am I going to be using this feature? Probably not. I mean, I game with headset, but I think it's really cool. And it's one step closer to what they originally sold the sound on, which is scanning your ear. And that's the shit I can't wait for. To be able to go down and somehow scan my ear and get the noise profile exactly to my ears. Oh man, that's what I want. That's what I want, boys. That's the future. That's what I want.
Can you imagine going into game and saying, "Can you scan my ear? I'm just buying the new PlayStation 6."
Well, I mean, you go and get your eyes tested, right? You go and get your eyes tested. Why wouldn't you get your hearing done and get personalized speakers? I don't see what's different from that.
It's just weird. You don't go to the game, do you? You don't go to the game to get your eyes done.
Hey, well, I mean, at the end of the day, games are dying business. I've said this loads of times. They need to branch out. Maybe this is the thing. Maybe go into, I don't even know what it's called for ears. Like eyes is obviously
Optician.
optician.
Jesus, you didn't even know.
Optometrist, I was going to say. Is that the same thing? Optometrist? I don't know. But yeah, I don't know what ears are. Fuck knows. A non-hearian. You know, if you, it's another word for deaf.
That's just a deaf person.
So for the blind listeners,
For our deaf listeners out there, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that we're, insulting your very way of existence.
For our deaf listeners out there.
Excellent bit of sign language for the blind listeners. They love that. But yeah, no, it's just one step closer. It's just a nice little feature that I think some people are going to really, really enjoy and be really thankful for, but it's just not for me.
Was there anything else, Spence, to finish this off?
Yeah, there's 2 more points. So the next one, increased personalization. So apparently you can personalize your little quick access menu in your whole control center a lot more, which I know a lot of people have been asking for, namely SSJ Davey asking for trophies on his little dash. It depends how much customization they give us for me to be interested in it.
Exactly the same as you. If we get trophies on that home bar, I'm done. That's all I need. That's literally all I need. Just bin off some of the accessibility options, put in trophies in there, done.
You think the amount of work that has gone in to get 3D audio working on TV speakers, and all you want to do is customize the menu bar? It's madness, isn't it?
Well, it's
really?
like for the longest time, everyone just wanted to change their name. And you couldn't do that, I mean, nothing's out of the question for Sony when it comes to the back end, It's all just the things that you think will be really easy are incredibly difficult for them to do.
Do you think they'll unite the marketplaces? So if you have an American PlayStation, you can buy British DLC. That's ever on the card.
Oh, who knows, mate? Who knows? They might chuck that in as soon as they add, scanning your ear functionality. They'll put that in as a little sub bit, and you'll see you pop off. Go nuclear for that.
If they start scanning my brain, that's exactly what I'm thinking. You need to do that, Sony.
I think that's gonna really tip the scale. That is.
Right, so the last thing they're adding in this beta, seeing as we've just been talking about trophies, quite fitting, a trophy tracker. You can add 5 trophies to kind of, I'd assume, your cards area or somewhere of the sort. So you can kind of just see what trophies you're going for and how you're progressing with them. That's big. It's big for me. Probably big for Davey. Phil, unlucky. Better luck next time, next beta.
Yeah, hopefully next beta they unite the marketplaces. So as an American account holder, I can buy British DLC. That is the dream. But there was also one other thing that I sort of picked up from sort of reading maybe the small print on that document.
Oh, sure.
Was that, strangely, PlayStation are now going to separate games between PS4 and PS5 within your library. That seems really strange to me. They're going to put it twice within your library as opposed to just you having it once.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't have come across this issue yet, Phil.
I did with Mortal Kombat when you gave it me, and we upgraded to the PS5.
Yeah, and they made you download PS4 anyway.
It was a very difficult situation, wasn't it? Remember this?
I have to do it almost every time, yeah.
Well, when I was playing Subnautica, it was the same thing. I had to go on and make sure that I checked that I redeemed both, but I had to check which one I was downloading by pressing onto the options button. It's not that difficult, to be honest. I don't know how people get confused with it, right? You just press options on it and select the option that you want. It's not hard. But, making it even clearer is always a good thing. So I'm really happy with that. I had the same thing with Dead by Daylight. I was playing with Willard a couple of weeks ago. And yeah, same thing. Just checking that you had the PS5 version. Just go on, press the options button, done. But I want to go back to the trophy tracker just for a second, because I think that's really, really hype. That's the biggest bit of news for me out of this entire thing. Is because when you go on at the moment, you're playing a game, you press your PS button, and it comes up, like you said, Spence, it comes up with like 5 trophies in the card section. And they're kind of random. They're trophies that you need, but they may not be the ones that you're specifically grinding for. And so to be able to pin those into that, it's just going to save loads of unnecessary clicks. So I'm super, super excited by that. To be able to just press a button, see how much % am I through this trophy, and then dip off it. I think it's brilliant. I think it's honestly little things like that just go a long way, especially for the hardcore that are interested in trophies. And as we said, we're not a small contingent. There's a lot of us out there. And the more you can kind of cater towards making it as easy as possible to access the information that you want, the better. As we say all the time on the podcast, The more choice, the better.
Is the trophy tracker the sole reason you're gutted you're not in the beta?
Yeah, it really is.
It's the only reason.
Yeah, it's the only thing I care about on that. Because I honestly, mate, I know you're hopeful that we're going to get the trophies menu in that customized menu. I can't see it. It's too good.
I don't care if we don't. To be fair, I honestly don't mind. It's 2 presses.
You're a freak. You're a freak though, because you still don't care that you can't hold the button and turn the PlayStation off, which I still care about, right? I still care about that. I still think it's dumb.
It's the opposite. It makes so much more sense for it to be a tap to go to quick
We don't
access.
need to go through this again. But honestly, you're a bit of a weirdo because you don't mind going through extra hoops because you've got all the time in the world. But for me, going and pressing it, going all over trophies, just annoying. I don't need to cover my rationale. The thing that I want change, boys, and I'm going to ask you guys this. What change do you want coming up for the PlayStation? What do you want that will benefit the experience for you? Now, my thing is I want trophies to display in a vertical fashion, same as PS4. Makes so much more sense. It's on there when you go on to compare trophies, so why wouldn't it be on there as a default view? Makes it way easier to see, way easier to find. Don't have to scroll through a load of bullshit.
Or, as PlayStation have already put in the effort to do a horizontal scroll, give us the option. In PS we trust, seal of approval, give us the option. That's what we're saying.
I'm down for that.
Spencer, what are you saying?
Yeah, I mean, options is always better. I'm quite happy with the horizontal, not gonna lie. I know Davey hates it, but it's fine. I think it's perfectly fine. I was never a trophy hunter on PS4, so this is kind of the standard for me. This is what I'm used to. All I would like is just, once I leave a party, forget about it. I have on my party list, on my game base, I have 4 parties that are all just me, Davey, Willard, and that's it. And they're all the same party from us playing Mortal Kombat like twice.
So you want it to be more like the PlayStation 4 party system?
Yeah. Forget about my past parties. Just let me pick my mates. I'd rather just do that. It's an extra 2 presses, but I'd rather that.
Yeah.
Because other than it cluttering my game base.
I completely agree with you. I think the whole idea of it is that you're supposed to build like a little community, aren't you? And have like your little group and people go in it. You see who's in that group at that time, stuff like that. I don't really think it's turned out that way.
I don't have that many friends. Well, come on.
Well, that's a you problem. That's a you problem, mate. But, you know, even with me, with, you know, hundreds of PlayStation friends on there, I just don't bother with it. I just don't use it like that. I use it like the party system of old. And sure, maybe that's on me. But I always like to think the majority is the same as me. And I'm sure they probably are. Because I'm right. You know, I won't hear it any other way. What about yourself, Phil? I can kind of guess what you're going to ask for.
Well, actually, it's a slight difference. I want to go back to the PS3 days. I want online for free. I hate this PS Plus subscription. It does my nut in. When you boys have shelled out hard cash for this gutter trash selection of games, and that's what you sold me on. I want online for free. I want to play Battlefield 42 for free. That's what I want. Why not? I've paid for the console. I'm loyal to PlayStation. Give me the option for online for free.
I can't believe, right, for the last 10 episodes, all you've talked about is the games you played is the free PlayStation Plus games, right? You've played Abe. You've played fucking Remnant with us. You've played load of bollocks that you've got on there.
WWE 2K Battlegrounds.
Yeah, I love that. Absolutely love that. 9 out of 10 game, that one. Loved it. And now he's sitting here, he's got one duff month, and he's like, shit service. Absolutely terrible. What more can they do to you, mate? I reckon the only way that they're going to get you as a fan of this service is come around and physically giving you a nosh. Once a month. Come around and be like, hello, Mr. Hoy, I'm here just to nosh you off for your PlayStation Plus subscription. And then you finish, you'll be like, wasn't good enough. Wasn't good. Didn't touch the balls enough. Slam the door in the face. Boom. And then walk upstairs, rant about it on Twitter.
Mate, I'm not the guy buying that 75p Dead Space vanity outfit, am I? I don't love all this bullshit that PlayStation tries to feed you, where I don't need it. They are forcing me to buy PS Plus because I'd like to play online with you guys. Actually, they forced you guys to buy PS Plus so I can play online with you guys. I don't like being in that position. As you know, my roots, they're in PC gaming, so it just feels foreign to me to pay a subscription method to play online. But anyway, we've covered this topic time and time again. But, you know, you asked me what I wanted in a perfect world, and that's what I'd want. PS3 days. We can share DLC across US and UK. I can share DLC with you, and online was free. Bring back PS3.
Simpler times, mate. Well, we can all hope that one day we may get features like that. But listeners, we'd love to hear from you. So there's a number of ways that you can reach out to us. So you can write into the email pswetrust@gmail.com.
You can join the conversation on Reddit. I'm on there most days, and I'd like to hear your views. The URL will be in the description, of course, and I do tweet it out from time to time. So, drop me a message, guys.
Also, feel free to reach out to us on Twitter @NPSWeTrust, and also our individual Twitters will be in the description below. And please feel free to leave a review on Apple Podcasts.
And remember, we are still on Match.com. So we're still knocking about on there. Anista is knocking about. We've had a few conversations. Jeff, I saw you've reached out on there. I can't reply to you because I do not know the password. But we are on there still. So shout out to all my boys who are checking out our profile picture that we still don't know what it looks like. But that's it for this episode of In PS We Trust. Thank you ever so much for joining us on this epic journey and this epic adventure. Spencer, thank you ever so much for editing this podcast. I'm sure I sound amazing on it, as always. But I've been Davey.
I've been Phil, as always.
And I've been Spencer.
Take care, guys.
Peace.
In PS We Trust is hosted by Davey, Phil, and Spencer. You can write into the show via our email, pswetrust@gmail.com. Our Twitter is @InPSWeTrust. To find each of us online, follow our Twitters, @SSJDavey, @PhilipHoy, @SpenPie_. Thank you for listening. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. See ya.